Well, hey, everybody. I think that I forgot to attach my mic, so I'm going to do that real quickly here. Get a slightly better sound with the microphone, I think. Not as echoey, reverby off of these hard walls. So I think I can change this. Like that. Is that I hope that's better. Hope that's better. Well, hey everybody, this is Astronomy Daily Live. This is a live daily live stream talking about astronomy for an hour or so. Just a circle of friends sitting around talking about the astronomical news or Q&A, any kind of questions. If you've seen an interesting news article or journal article, um, let's talk about it. As I said, this is like a circle of friends, and it's just a daily gathering, and we sit around for a while, relax, very very casual, and let's talk some interesting astronomy for a little while. So get yourself away from the TV and the news, and let's talk about telescopes and instrumentation and full moons and new moons and blue moons and red moons and every other kinds of moons, potato-shaped moons. Uh, so I'm gonna sort of do what I always do here. I can't do any of these things until the live stream starts. So over on my Linux machine, running Fedora 24 still, I pop out the chat. Hello, chat. Coming up here pretty soon. OMC Triple X in the house. Always, almost always. I can't say always. Almost always. Right there at the top with the peace sign. Uncle Bill, you are a ninja. You're just a ninja. Glad you could stop by. Yeah, there are. Wow, it's really amazing. There are quite a few pretty interesting uh, streams, and yeah, it's an amazing world. So yeah, thank you for being, you know. Well, I'm going to thank your 1/3 for being here. So you can sort of decide uh, which third it is. So that's all I can say about that. And over here, I'm going on my smartphone, Samsung Galaxy S7. I'm going to start the live stream, so I can monitor the live situation, which is delayed quite a bit, uh, maybe 10 or 15 seconds. So, by the time you hear this, it would have been that long. I'm trying to load this. Okay, there it is. I'm going to pop the headphones on, listen to audio really quick. Hold on. All right, that sounds good. That sounds good. Cool. 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 I will definitely attempt to keep it here and not back here or anything like that. So yeah, I was up early this morning doing a live stream of the eclipse, and yeah, you know, I hadn't used uh, that webcam. That it's a Logitech C525. I hadn't used that webcam uh, on the scope for long enough that I'd really forgotten how narrow of a field of view that camera gives. It's sampling a very 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 small portion of the focal plane, and so everything is sort of greatly magnified. I think uh, this is just a rough estimate. I would say that maybe 4 or 5 um, image widths took up the width of the moon, so it was really really zoomed in, um, and pretty low contrast. Yeah, I played played with the camera controls um, throughout pretty much the whole hour ish that I was on, um, and never really got a good, nice, high contrasty picture. Now, partially that's because the moon is was technically full, so no shadows to sort of outline the topography. So, yeah, maybe that had a little bit to do with the fact that there wasn't a lot of contrast. So, you combine not a lot of contrast with um, a very, very, very small field of view. And, yeah, I think doing something like that for a lunar eclipse, probably not necessary, but it was kind of fun, to get out. I haven't actually been out in a while, uh, so yeah, that was a little bit fun, and I had to go through the whole star alignment procedure and make sure that at least I could get it into a mode where it was tracking fairly well. But it it did a good job. It did a good job. I wish that I could. Do more stars. If I did more stars, the pointing and the tracking would be more accurate. Um, but as it was okay. I also towards the end, I also slewed over to Jupiter and took a look at that. Could see all 4 of its moons. There were 2 on one side and 2 on the other. Um, so that was pretty nice to see. Could see the dark equatorial bands um, on the planet itself. So yeah, yeah, looked like a typical Jupiter. Um, Looking really, really good. Again, because of the small field of view, it sort of appears magnified, and so probably you could fit maybe 6 or 7 Jupiters across the field of view. So yeah, pretty narrow field of view. I think Jupiter is around I want to say 30 arc seconds, but maybe that's not quite right. Easy enough to find out if need be. If need be. So yeah, this is Astronomy Daily Live, a daily uh, live stream. Um, just a gathering of friends talking about astronomy for a little while. Uh, this is a pretty interesting format. I'm relatively new to it, so I'm on a learning curve, and but having a lot of fun with it. and feel very relaxed, just sort of uh, being being me, being enthusiastic about this amazing universe, and uh, I'm feeling pretty good about the fact that I've acquired um, some pretty interesting tools and measuring devices to allow me to, at least in my um, simplistic way, uh, um, uh, begin to understand uh, what is going on and how it all works and why and when and who and if, all that. And I appreciate the fact that there aren't going to be any answers. I think that's great. So yeah, this is just a casual conversation. You can bring questions for sure. That really makes the conversation move really well. So that's a lot of fun. It's nice to get a crowd in here, chit chatting about either some recent uh, new piece of information or some new observations that were being made, um, new instrumentation, new spacecraft, whatever. I'm going to be pretty open in terms of the topics and stuff because astronomy uh, covers pretty much everything. So yeah, yeah. So glad you can stop in here. You know, Newbies are welcome, amateurs are welcome, advanced amateurs are welcome, and pros are most definitely welcome. Uh, like to get into maybe some pretty interesting, maybe heavy or heady conversation. Let's show our eggs, right? It's it's dihydrogen oxide again tonight because as I said, I got up a little early uh, for the eclipse, earlier than I normally would. So yeah, feeling a bit wiped out, but it was a good show. It's nice to see those things. I always imagine what it must look like being on the moon and looking back at the Earth and having this like this orange red ring around this dark circle. And man, uh, if if there were any culture seeing that, they would be pretty blown away. Uh, as it is, it's all that we get. The only thing that we get is just this absolutely fabulously colored uh, full moon. I mean, it's uh, an eclipse is a pretty amazing event, and I don't know about you, but when it went dark this morning, um, it it something felt it just felt wrong. It felt like there was something wrong because there was a moon in the sky. There was a moon in the sky, and the sky was completely black. So it felt a lot like a solar eclipse in that sense because it was just kind of a spooky, powerful, eerie feeling, and I like it. I like it. There's a lot, though. Eclipses are very uh, energetic events, so we should not take them lightly or just sort of toss them off uh, as just something else. They're pretty amazing events for a little while. Um, Solar radiation is being blocked by the Earth hitting the moon. So for a little while at least, um, the moon isn't being frontally bombarded uh, by the sun's full radiation, winds and uh, electromagnetic fields and particles and the whole thing. It's just not there for a little while. And what does that do? What does that do on the moon? And I've heard a few things, but maybe if somebody knows about that, what kind of interesting things happen on the moon after an eclipse? A day or two or three afterwards. I've heard things about sandstorms on Mars um, being more active when Mars is at opposition. That means when it's uh, exactly opposite the uh, the sun from us. So the opposite way. If the sun is directly east, then the object at opposition would be directly west, and vice versa. Yeah, very, very cool. So here we are, and as I said, this is for everyone. Everyone is welcome. Um, this is a uh, I've I seem to have not necessarily stumbled upon, but came across a pretty interesting group of individuals here, and yeah, I hope we can come together and do something interesting, do something um, uh, that is going to sort of spread the word on this really interesting work that is being done all over the world. So yeah, very cool. I'm going to get into my script and see if there's anything interesting there. Not really. Topics are open. I just my request is that we remain skeptical but open-minded, and let's hash through things. Let's apply the scientific method, um, and see if ideas and observations and patterns and everything else hold up. That's the process of science. That's the process of discovery. And I don't know about you, but that kind of activity satisfies a curiosity that I've always had and always will have. Just uh, what's happening, what's going on, where am I, who am I, when am I? Uh, yeah, and to a certain extent, I think astronomy at least can maybe provide some parameters to mess around with. Um, yeah, if nothing else, just give us a little sense of comfort. Yeah. Hey, I've got some new jumper honors here. I wonder if they've found their way into the chat yet. I don't know. I don't know. Hey, it's Nancy. Yeah. Hey, that's the cool thing about having a daily live stream, is that no one except me sort of has to feel obligated uh, to to come by every day or every other day or every week. And if you want to stop in a couple of minutes, say howdy. Um, that's what it is all about. It's just a gathering of friends. Consider it like a circle of friends, and yeah, just here talking astronomy. Pop in, pop out, we're very casual here. Um, Casual, fun, hopefully a little interesting, um, and just yeah, shooting astronomy for an hour or so. Very very relaxed. No real scripts um, or anything else. Just if the participants don't have anything on their minds, I always do. So I can talk astronomy all day all night for quite a while uh, if need be. But don't tempt me with a marathon because that would yeah, I think that would hurt. That would hurt. So no marathons. Speaking of marathons, I am gonna not have a live stream this coming. Let me get the exact day. It'll be the 4th of January. Oh, I'm sorry, the 3rd of January 2018 at 2 hours UTC. That live stream is canceled. I'm going to be going to the art show at the University of Arizona. This is being put on by the Lunar and Planetary Laboratory. It's called the Art of Planetary Science (TAPS), and I think I've shown most of you in here some of the artwork that I've been doing. Well, I submitted 4 pieces to the show, and all of them were accepted. Now that sounds like an extraordinary thing, and it probably is, except for the fact that they pretty much accepted everybody's. So yeah, I think it's the kind of art show where it's like, okay, let's just accept pretty much everything, right? So probably not too much scrutiny was gone into choosing my pieces, but I've got 3 prints and a video, and yeah, I think I've shown them off on this live stream. I think I did a few days ago. So take a look at that. I don't remember exactly which one it is. Not the 3rd of January. I'm talking about the 3rd of February. Sorry about that. Yeah, the 3rd of February, 2018. Living in the past. Living in the past. Um, so yeah, so this live stream won't be happening then, but every other every so often there will be a live stream missed. That's the other cool thing about having a daily live stream, is that I'm not going to sweat the missed days. It happens, life happens, and that's how it goes. And this is a casual show, so there's no requirements. I'm just I definitely want to be here every single day, even if I'm not. Uh, I'm here uh, in some way. So yeah, yes, thumbs up for sure. Thank you very much. Very very cool. So what's on the minds? What's on the minds of the chatters? Anything in particular? I'm uh, I'm happy at any level. So beginning through pro, we can throw it out there and see what happens. In the meantime, cheers. I've been thinking about the overview effect, and I think probably the astronaut that comes to mind um, that sort of went the furthest, at least I think, uh, with his altered perception of the universe post post moon experience, uh, was the guy that started the Noetic Institute. Does anybody remember what moon landing astronaut that is? He wrote an amazing book. Ah, let's see if I can find that. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share it. See, I have to say that because once instead of sharing, I just ended the broadcast. It's gone. So no, I'm going to share, and then I'm going to share, and then we go to infinity, and then I'm going to come over here and try to remember the name of that astronaut who started the Noetic Institute. I'm going to go to our favorite search engine and Noetic Institute. Edgar Mitchell. Edgar Mitchell. Yeah. Edgar Mitchell, Apollo 14, had a life changing um, uh, sort of realization, right? I think was it on the way or on the way back? I don't remember exactly uh, the story, but yeah, he wrote a great book. Um, he wrote a really great book. I think maybe it was called The Way of the Explorer. The Way of the Explorer, 1996. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'm sort of thinking maybe that's it. I can't be sure. Can't be sure. Somebody in chat, if somebody knows, pop it out there. Anyway, yeah, when when uh, when I think of the overview effect, I think of Edgar Mitchell, um, because he was very much affected by his lunar experience, and yeah, I think well, I think it's a real deal, and I wish uh, I wish we could all experience that. It yeah, it I can only imagine, right? But I mean, it really looks like it makes you it makes you look around a little bit. Thanks, Nazi, for coming in. Come on in anytime. You are extremely welcome. Yeah, so having that kind of change in perspective uh, is going to change you. It's going to change not only how you see things and sort of experience things and filter things, but how you interact and how you treat things. It's going to be different. It'll be completely different. Can only imagine, being out there, being able to put your hand over the earth and completely block it out and know that it's like everything that anyone has ever known is underneath my hand and it's way over there. It's yeah, that's got to be pretty intense. And I'm sure that hit everyone for sure, but everybody reacts in a different way, and I sort of admire his his reaction. I think that's great. I guess he died. He died back in 2011. No, 2011, something like that. Yeah, I hadn't realized that he's also gone. Also gone. Edgar Mitchell. But yeah, I think um, and maybe being in space isn't the only way to experience um, that kind of effect. Um, you know, uh, that make for some good psychological work. To really scientifically explore sort of these altered states, right, and really uh, try to understand them and see what's going on and what kind of benefit maybe. I mean, we really don't know because uh, a lot of that work is very much suppressed, maybe for good reasons. I don't know. But as a scientist, wow, I'm interested in everything. So why not take a look at that and uh, uh, if uh, if you're able to produce something similar to an overview effect that um, doesn't change a person but changes the perspective, uh, and they realize that, hey, this is a pretty awesome place, and it's certainly awesome for everybody, and so let's have a good time instead of fighting and thinking that there isn't enough and all that. It's like, let's realize that hey, there are resources beyond anything that we would ever want. You don't have to worry about that. So let's just have some fun. Let's uh, let's do some really cool far out things. And uh, if it's all that really is required, is some version of this overview effect uh, to help us all sort of see things in a different way. Hey, I'm all for that. There's just too many obstacles right now, and it'd be nice to remove obstacles and expand choices. So yeah. Uncle Bill says it makes me think of profoundly Christian astronauts. Um, yeah, I weren't the weren't the first, at least the Mercury astronauts, weren't they required to be Christian? Um, and maybe more specifically, Protestant Christian. I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember. I read the right stuff, but I don't necessarily consider that a history book. Um, so I don't know if it's completely accurate or not. But yeah, I think experiencing the overview effect, sort of regardless of how that's done, um, is 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 definitely going to modify your perspective. Um, you may be able to sort of you know categorize it, put it in a box and put it in its place, within your larger paradigm. But maybe not. Maybe you realize that this is a big deal, and it's like, okay, this seems to be more how like it is. So yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Getting back to astronomy, take another sip of this dihydrogen oxide tonight. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how easily uh, the webcam works. Um, I just have to. I think I just have to play with it a little bit more work with it a little bit more, sort of find its boundaries. Um, I really I, I I don't quite know what yet it is capable of, and I think if I can acquire like a focal reducer that'll reduce the focal length uh, by a factor of two, then I'm going to have a much larger field of view, and that that would do a lot better for any kind of live streaming. I like the idea of having a live stream star party of sorts. Um, I'm in a place of the world known for its lots of clear nights, and I can attest to the fact that yes, we most definitely do have a lot of clear nights. That's why there's so many observatories around here, because the chances of being able to make your observations uh, is a lot higher if you have a lot more potentially clear nights. That just makes sense. We can that sort of leads into a topic that I haven't covered yet, and that is about the, what do astronomers do at the telescope. Um, most I don't know about most, but I think the the sort of the common thought is that astronomers work at telescopes and look through telescopes uh, with their eyes, through an eyepiece, and that's what astronomers do is they just stare at the stars through these large telescopes. Now, the um, these every major observatory in the world. Hmm, can I safely say in the world? Yeah, I think I can probably safely say every major observatory in the world is completely oversubscribed. So the competition for telescope time uh, is I mean it's hard to get telescope time. First of all, you've got to pay for it. Um, if you want to, uh, or if you need to uh, do an observing run at a telescope that isn't part of your institution, um, then you have to you know pay for it. And Uncle Bill, yeah, I'm just going to get a focal reducer. Uh, I can reduce the focal length by a factor of two, and that'll give me a pretty decent field of view, and then I'll be a little bit more happy, and I can move on to doing some star tests, see how faint I can go. Um, yeah, because if I'm going to do a live star party, then I want to be able to show you guys things that are not just planets and the moon. Okay, I mean when I uh, was doing just observational astronomy with my 10-inch Newtonian um, on a Dobsonian mount. Yeah, I was just observing, and um, but I'm into every deep space object uh, known that can be seen. So if I can show you some galaxies, that would be extremely cool. I don't think I can. I definitely be able to. I mean, I hope. I'm hoping that I'll be able to show off some globs and some opens. Um, uh, Definitely some binary stars. Of course the planets and the moon. But yeah, I want to. I mean, if I'm going to do a star party, okay, I'm not going to just look at the moon for 2 or 3 hours. That's I mean, I like the moon. I like the moon a lot. I like looking at the moon. I would like to be on the moon. But yeah, staring at it for a few hours, no, there's a lot more interesting things out there too. So if I can look at other things uh, and live stream that, that would be very, very cool. So telescope time at major institutions, and hey, look, I will go back to my ugly mug here. The ugly mug. Um, so telescope time is at a premium, and if the telescope isn't owned by the institution that you uh, work at, then you have to pay for the telescope time as well. Um, so you have to submit a proposal, and it goes through a committee or committees, and it's basically graded. Uh, I I guess you would call it on a sliding scale. So they they uh, they try to distribute this in some kind of some kind of like a Gaussian or something, um, and then they pick the top few, and it has to meet lots of parameters. Most astronomers want to collect data from either one particular object, or maybe um, one one particular group of objects, uh, or they want to look at all the objects that have certain parameters, chemical makeup or distance, or you know it can be lots and lots and lots of things. And so depending on when the object or objects that they want to observe are up in the night sky, you sort of have to finagle things that way in terms of scheduling. So I mean, it's sort of a two phase thing. One is um, picking from a very, very, very large pool of proposals, which proposals are going to get telescope time, and then you have to schedule them. And I I uh, I have huge respect for especially the schedulers. That has got to be got to be a very, very difficult task, because I mean it really does sort of have to make everybody happy, and ooh, that's that's really hard. That's really hard. I mean, if you're making half the people happy, you're doing really good. But a telescope time scheduler has to make everybody happy. that's that's bad. That's bad. I don't think. Am I screen sharing now? I don't think I am. Am I? Yeah, I don't. Oh, I am. I am. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bill. Why am I? It doesn't say that I am. Let me go. Oh, there it is. Wow. Well, maybe there's that long of a lag. I don't know. I'm gonna keep going. It doesn't look like. Yeah. It's technology, and uh, I'm at least at this point I'm in a situation where it's like beggars can't be choosers. So I think this is completely awesome, being able to do this. The only downside really for me is that it looks like it only runs on Chrome, and Chrome is on this really, really old laptop that is about ready to just like that, and there is absolutely no chance for replacement at this point. So if this laptop goes, so goes the show. So hang on, laptop, you're doing great. You're doing great. Yes, here I am. Here I am. Here I am. So yeah, the telescope time. So you go through uh, figuring out who's going to get telescope time, and then you have to schedule the telescope time. And usually it's I mean it depends on the project, but on average, I would say it's 2 nights, maybe 3 nights. Um, it can be one night, it can be 7 nights. It sort of depends on the project and how important the committee thought that the project was. And yeah, lots of biases and everything else. Who knows? Who knows? How that process happens. I wouldn't doubt that there might be some coaxing. I don't know. I don't know. I honestly don't know anything about that. But you know, if humans are involved, then something's got to be messed up somewhere, right? Yeah. So so then you get a couple of nights, and what the astronomer does is if they're up there a couple of nights, have to stay over day. They have to stay multiple days. Um, they will travel to the observatory, and they will be assigned, like a dorm room, or wherever the accommodations are. The accommodations are usually um, uh, nice, but not luxurious. Definitely adequate. Definitely, I mean, cozy, but in a really really nice way. All the dorms I've been in have felt very comfortable, and of course I was happy to be there anyway. So pretty much anything would probably feel comfy. But so yeah, you arrive. The day that you're going to be observing that evening, usually, and you drive up to the observatory or get a ride up there, and uh, you go to your scope, and you usually have to go up the elevator into a nice warm and comfy control room with all kinds of computers and gizmos and doodads and paperwork everywhere, and chairs and tables and backpacks and books and pens, and you are introduced to the telescope operator, and the telescope operator does exactly that. That person is in charge of opening the dome, making sure that everything is running okay, um, and you, as the astronomer, um, uh, your job basically is to make sure that the data that you want is collected. So everything else, pretty much everything else, is run by the telescope operator. So, if you're looking at a particular galaxy, then you will hand the telescope, um, the TO, uh, the coordinates of the galaxy, and that person, will punch it in to the telescope control systems, and the telescope will slew, and the dome will turn, and you will be pointed at the object that you're interested in. And then at that point, it sort of depends on what kind of data you are collecting. Um, but you'll have a familiarity with the instrumentation that you want to be using. So if you're taking an image, then you would probably want to be in control of the exposure time and making sure that all of the calibration data is taken correctly. Um, check and double check, triple check things. Um, uh, and then when you actually collect your raw science data, taking a look at it, taking a good hard look at it, um, and making sure that it looks like uh, what you're expecting. And because when you go to collect data, you have a plan. You sort of you're looking for something, or you're looking at something. It's usually um, getting telescope time is about uh, you know collecting data to use to match to a model to explain whatever phenomenon or whatever it is that you are studying. Yeah, I don't know if the lag is on your end or mine, because I'm on a pretty slow upload. So it's actually pretty amazing. Uh, and yeah, actually, I'm looking at the live feed on my smartphone, and yeah, I'm jerking around a little bit, but this is casual. This is Astronomy Daily Live, here every single day. So uh, there's no hurry. There's no rush. Uh, what's missed today, we can pick up tomorrow or the next day or the next day. So yeah, that's what astronomers do. They basically go up there just to ensure that the data that they want is the data that they get. Um, Now, a lot there there are some different ways of observing. There's this queue observing thing where you sort of prioritize observations, and instead of allocating an entire night or several nights to a particular project, and sort of like a contiguous thing. So every night for the next 3 nights is going to be you know, this observer, and with this instrumentation collecting this kind of data. Instead, they set you up on a queue, uh, so you just sort of rotate through, depending on, again, what kind of parameters you set in in with what data you you need, and it's complicated. It can get really complicated really fast, uh, but it's extremely cool. It's extremely cool. Just that part of it uh, is is extremely cool. It's very competitive, very competitive. Telescope time is a premium for sure. You know, um, and if that isn't bad enough, okay, um, if you want any telescope time on a orbiting spacecraft, your proposal has got to be really good. It's got to be really good, and you've got to wait a long time, very long. Um, but even that rule can be broken, because I'm pretty sure that the Hubble Space Telescope is part of this quick response system. So I think if something happens, depending on what it is, I guess, if something interesting happens, um, you definitely want to be able to pull as many resources as you can uh, uh, to find out what is going on. We're curious species in many ways, and yeah, we like to know what's happening over there. All right, very awesome. Yeah, it's there are also upcoming and in operation right now these remote telescopes, these remote controlled telescopes, completely autonomous, just on a schedule, like a radio show schedule. You play this song, then you play this song, then you play this song, this song, this song. Same thing uh, with these scopes. The software runs the whole thing. You just have a list, and that list can be also interrupted, but it's just a list uh, based on, again, you know um, the astronomers making a request, setting all the parameters, somebody setting the schedule, and then typing that into a program. But then the telescope and the observatory itself takes over. One of the one of the hardest things to set up an autonomous observatory uh, is uh, making sure that it doesn't get rained on or snowed on or blown when it shouldn't be blown. You've got to have all these sensors on the outside of the observatory constantly watching the weather. And if it starts to sprinkle, right? If it starts to sprinkle, you've got to close that dome. You've got to close it fast. Uh, if if uh, if you're observing and the wind starts blowing faster than a certain speed, well, you better close the dome really fast too because it's going to blow off. Uh, could damage the structure, could damage you, could damage the telescope for sure. So really, the easiest part of setting up the autonomous observatory is setting up the telescope itself. That that software uh, works really, really well. And I mean, I'm stretching this a little bit, but it's relatively simple. Um, it, yeah, I think being able to respond quickly, to weather events, um, that's a tough one. That's really, really tough. But they have those too, and those finally, I think are getting more and more popular. Um, yeah, it's not that big of a deal, and as long as you have someone sort of nearby, um, either in time or space um, that if there's a problem, if for some reason a button has to be pushed, um, then somebody can pretty easily get out there and do it. So there's lots and lots of options, and yeah, but definitely to this day, and to continue to who knows how long, there are never going to be enough telescopes, never. Um, and I think if astronomers had more than just one or two nights every few years, they would probably want to do that also, because the more data you have, um, the it is a garbage in, garbage out. So a lot of bad data is going to produce a lot of bad results, but a lot of good data is going to produce a lot of good results. So yeah, I would think that if astronomers had the choice, they would be observing a lot more. And that's the cool thing about my situation, being at least at the moment independent in terms of what I choose to work on. Um, I'm out here, don't necessarily have an observatory, but I've got a science grade um, telescope here and a science grade CCD um, camera. It's an SBIG ST7, so it's a little old, but it's awesome. It's awesome. It's a workhorse. It was previously owned, and it's rock solid. It's an awesome instrument, to do science. So I am set. So I am not, um, you know, the only limitation that I have, and I see this as a minor limitation, is that with this aperture, there's only so much that I can do. But um, there's a lot. There's a lot. That that sum is, relatively speaking, if you look at it, there is a lot. there's a lot I can do. Um, a 1 minute exposure with this camera will get me down to 17th magnitude, 16th, 17th magnitude. And that is enough. That is definitely enough to do some really awesome stuff. Um, to, it's just almost limitless. So with the setup I have, I am ready to do it, and I don't have to write uh, any kind of proposal to ask for telescope time. Um, I don't have to pay for telescope time. I don't have to bother anybody at all. This is no trouble, right? I take this, I carry it outside, I plug it in, I line it up, make sure it's balanced, take my calibration data, and I go. And that's it. And if need be, depending on the project, uh, yeah, every single night, every single clear night, uh, I can be out there doing it. Did a project a few years ago now where I did photometry on um, the four Galilean moons of um, Jupiter. They're all tidally locked in their orbits. So just like our moon, the same face is always pointed towards the planet. And so from our perspective, you get to see the whole uh, sphere, the whole thing. So one time around is one full rotation, and the geography uh, is such on all of the moons that you can definitely see variability um, when you look at when you measure the brightness uh, of these moons over time. You can see that the brightness changes, and that coincides with real geographical um, things going on the surface. So very cool, and you can see that. You can also do lots and lots of other things with that um, data too. You can get a sense of what color it is, what colors the moons are. Um, you can just use the atmosphere of the Earth to do that. So yeah, lots and lots of cool things. Definitely want to get back onto the data collection for myself um, bandwagon. But the cool thing is that again, finally, we're getting um, either raw or calibrated data from real instrumentation um, that is coming online and is almost real time. There might be hours or days delays, but wow, and it's all there, and it's all available. You don't have to you don't have to have a telescope anymore um, to do uh, real research. You go to the Gaia database or the the Sloan Digital Sky Survey, um, uh, or any of these, and you literally have a lifetime's worth of work uh, just in all of that. So you don't need a telescope, not anymore. And when things like the LSST, the large sidereal synoptic telescope, is that it? LSST? Um, that is going to be dumping terabytes a day. Uh, you know, minutes or hours after it's collected. So it's just uh, there. It's there's just a lot that can be done with that kind of information. And there are papers, books written on, what can be done, with that kind of information. So maybe that's something I'll pull out at some point. But yeah, just way too much stuff. You don't you don't have to go to an observatory uh, anymore. You don't really have to go through all of that, proposal writing and wishing really hard and paying thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of dollars for the time, um, and then traveling and it being on top of mountaintops is absolutely fabulous, right? Beautiful, nice to get away. It's sort of like a vacation uh, of sorts, although you're working or sleeping. But yeah, sort of a vacation sorts. You don't have to do that anymore. You just don't. And that's going to open up. I mean, it already is, but it's opening up a whole new sort of realm that's kind of interesting. Um, the robots are collecting our data for us. Um, the robots are analyzing our data. The robots are, interpreting our data. Our robots are writing the papers. Uh, you know, interesting, interesting, uh, interesting to think about where and how we're going to participate in all that because it's happening. It's happening already. All right. Well, very cool. This is all about astronomy, and it's just a fun hours or so. Don't want to take advantage of anybody's extremely important time, um, especially uh, if you do what um, Uncle Bill does, ninja style, and has like 3 or 4 or 10 live streams going on at the same time, and participating in all the chats and doing all that. Um, Feel free, to come and go. Um, don't Please don't feel obligated at all. The only one that feels obligated, and for me it's an absolute joy, so it's not an obligation in any way, is me. I've got to be here every single day. I can break that rule whenever I want, and I'm going to break that rule um, on the 3rd of February 2018 at 2 hours UTC. That show is canceled. I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be at an art show with some of my art in it. Um, yeah, that's no big deal. They accepted everybody's. So but we'll see. I'm interested in seeing if there's any kind of reaction, and I'm interested in the absolute value of the reaction, not whether it's a negative reaction or a positive reaction. I want to have a nice strong reaction. Either way, I don't care. No reaction would be a bummer. So that's not. I don't think that's necessarily what art is about. And the people that I've shown my work to have had strong reactions. So yeah, when AI takes over, um, what am I gonna what am I gonna do with myself when AI takes over? Um, uh, I'm just going to finally just be able to hopefully just sort of relax into the experience and have fun, um, because literally we're not going to have to worry about anything at all. And that's what I was saying sort of at the beginning of this live stream, is that that's possible. We've got uh, so much uh, there's so much to go around. We have access at least to more than what we can possibly imagine. Um, and when enough of us realize that, things are going to change. Things are going to change um, in ways that we probably can't imagine, but I think they're going to be absolutely astonishing. And I think if we don't get scared and freak out and realize what we've got here and what our situation is, I think um, it's going to dawn on us that it's like, you know what? Let's just relax. Let's relax. Let's have fun. Let's explore this. Let's figure it all out. Let's, look at the whole, look at the pieces, look at everything in between. It's all absolutely fantastic. And it's not going to take all of us to to tip that over. It's going to take a few. It's going to take a few, and it's going to take maybe some people in the right place at the right time. So it's going to take a little bit of luck, and it's going to take a little bit of numbers, but I think it's going to happen. And yeah, it's. I think we will be completely amazed uh, as to what what is possible, and AI is going to be a thing, and I you know we'll see, we'll see. I definitely I when it comes to uh, machines, I certainly have a prejudice, and I don't know how that's going to go. I don't know which way I'm going to lean. I'm hoping that my open-mindedness is open enough to accept these conscious beings. I guess you would have to call them, but even that, my prejudice is coming through. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to end this for tonight. Thanks for everyone who is watching live. Thanks for everybody who is watching this in the future. I appreciate it. Hit hit the thumbs up if you very kindly would. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. I think you can get notified when this is going live. But the current plan is to be here every day with extremely few exceptions, every single day at 2 hours UTC. And you'll have to figure out what that time is for your local time. Um, I can't tell you because I don't know where you are. So you know where you are. You'll figure that out, no problem. So I'm going to get out of here. Everybody have a great evening, and I will see you again tomorrow, a little less than 23 hours from now. Peace out, and have a great day. See you tomorrow.